Charlie Sheen has never been a stranger to controversy, but his latest revelation has left Hollywood, fans, and gossip columns buzzing louder than ever before. For the first time in his decades-long career, the actor is openly speaking about his sexual encounters with men, and he's not downplaying the details or hiding behind carefully crafted statements. Instead, he's placing this confession front and center in both his upcoming memoir The Book of Sheen and the Netflix documentary aka Charlie Sheen. Both projects are set to release this week, the memoir on 9 September 2025 and the documentary the very next day on 10 September, making this one of the most highly anticipated and controversial celebrity stories of the year. In candid excerpts and promotional interviews leading up to these releases, Sheen calls the decision to speak openly liberating. He describes a profound sense of relief at not having to keep this part of his life in the shadows anymore. His exact words capture that signature Sheen blend of bluntness and dark humor. It's like a train didn't come through the side of the restaurant. A piano didn't fall out of the sky. No one ran into the room and shot me. For Sheen, confessing to sexual encounters with men isn't the career-ending catastrophe tabloids might have predicted a decade ago. Instead, he frames it as the natural next step in reclaiming his narrative, after years of addiction, chaos, and a public image so broken that people had almost stopped listening to the man behind the headlines. But what makes this revelation so compelling is the context. Charlie Sheen is not a man who lived in quiet denial. He lived loudly, dangerously, and destructively, with the world watching. His addiction to crack cocaine and a relentless sex addiction fueled a spiral that dominated entertainment news for years. It was during those years, the wild, destructive phase where drugs blurred the lines of reality, that Sheen says these encounters with men began. He admits it started as part of his drug-fueled experimentation, but it wasn't just about the substances. It was about pushing boundaries, testing limits, and flipping, as he puts it, the menu over. Sheen describes these experiences in his signature raw style. Some were weird, others were fucking fun, and many were tangled up in a hedge of addiction. He doesn't sanitize the stories. He doesn't pretend it was all romantic or glamorous. Instead, he insists on honesty, even if that honesty makes people uncomfortable. And in doing so, he's peeling back another layer of a persona that has always walked the tightrope between excess and confession. One of the darkest revelations tied to this confession is how those encounters exposed him to blackmail. Sheen explains that as people around him discovered his HIV medication, they used it as leverage against him. Photos of his prescriptions were used to extort money, and for a long time, he paid to keep it quiet. But when the demands became unbearable, he went on national television in 2015 and disclosed his HIV diagnosis. That disclosure, which rocked Hollywood at the time, was his way of ending the blackmail machine once and for all. He admits now that while the moment was terrifying, it was also freeing. He could no longer be controlled by fear. And with his new revelations, he emphasizes one point repeatedly. He never passed HIV on to anyone. The timing of these confessions is no accident. Charlie Sheen has been sober for nearly a decade, and sobriety has given him clarity. At 60 years old, he seems determined to confront his past, not bury it. This memoir and documentary act as a reckoning, not just with fans, but with the people closest to him. He openly acknowledges the damage his addictions caused to family, friends, and colleagues. He expresses regret for the chaos that swallowed his professional career, particularly the very public implosion on the set of 2.5 Men. His feud with creator Chuck Lorre and his infamous clashes with co-star Jon Cryer became legendary tabloid fodder. But here's where things get interesting. Sheen is not just revisiting these wounds, he's trying to heal them. In recent weeks, he's publicly praised Jon Cryer for appearing in the documentary and even reached out to him on social media, asking him to send over his updated phone number. This is the same Jon Cryer who endured Sheen's destructive behavior firsthand and who, for years, wanted nothing to do with him. Sheen also revealed that he's reconciled with Chuck Lorre, and there's even talk of potential collaboration in the future. These reconciliations underscore that this isn't just a tell-all for shock value, it's a man trying to piece together a life that his addictions once tore apart. Of course, the public reaction has been a mixed storm. On one side, there are fans applauding his honesty, seeing this as a raw and necessary confession from a man who's been through hell and survived. On the other, critics are skeptical, questioning whether this is just another attempt by Sheen to grab headlines or to rebrand himself in a more sympathetic light. Social media is filled with hot takes. Some express admiration for his bravery, others accuse him of exploiting confession culture, and many are simply stunned that Charlie Sheen, once the face of Hollywood excess, is now talking about same-sex encounters with unflinching candor. But whether you sympathize with him or not, one thing is undeniable. Charlie Sheen has always known how to command attention. His life has been a constant headline machine, from his early Hollywood success to his infamous Tiger Blood meltdown in 2011, to his HIV disclosure in 2015, and now this new chapter in 2025. He has lived the kind of life that seems almost too wild for fiction, and now he's telling it all in his own words. For longtime fans, the timeline is important. This isn't a sudden revelation. It's the next step in a long pattern of public confessions, but this time the tone feels different. Instead of manic bravado or reckless denial, there's a sobering honesty in his words. Sobriety has forced him to look in the mirror, and what he sees is complicated. A man who hurt others, who was exploited, who exploited himself, and who now wants to live without secrets. What comes next for Charlie Sheen is anyone's guess. Will the public accept this confession as part of his redemption arc, or will it simply reopen old wounds? Will fans see him as a flawed man finally telling the truth, or as a celebrity who still thrives on shock value? The answers may not come immediately, but one thing is certain: Sheen has once again forced the world to pay attention. As the memoir and documentary roll out, audiences will get the full picture, not just the headline quotes, but the messy, complicated reality behind them. They'll hear his regrets, his humor, his pain, and his attempts at reconciliation. They'll see how his family responds, how his colleagues remember him, and how a man who once burned every bridge in Hollywood is trying to rebuild at least a few of them. Charlie Sheen's story has never been tidy, and it likely never will be. But in telling it himself, without filters or censorship, he's reclaiming control of a narrative that for years was dictated by paparazzi, tabloids, and gossip blogs. This time, it's his voice, his words, his truth, however messy that truth might be. And as the world debates whether this is bravery, manipulation, or something in between, one undeniable fact remains: Charlie Sheen has turned his private secrets into public conversation once again. Make sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more celebrity updates just like this.